The Pelicans have made their decision on Zion Williamson, and I don't know if it's the right decision. And the fact that it's the Pelicans makes me a little bit more concerned that it is not the right decision here. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Subscribe right here to the channel. It's a great way to keep us growing and going. Joining me, Donnie Freeman. Donnie, are the Pelicans ever going to do anything right?
Hopefully. One can imagine, one can hope, wish, everything else under the sun. I mean, with Joe Dumars there at the helm, I'm sure they got some stuff cooking, right?
I mean, maybe. Hopefully, it's some beignets. Those are fantastic.
Or it's New Orleans cooking.
Yeah, actually, exactly. That's New Orleans cooking. Just keep Zion away from it.
I knew you were going there.
Just keep Zion away from it. All right, let's take a look. This is Joe Dumars, the much maligned Joe Dumars. Oh boy, Joe. Let's hear what he has to say.
Just another thing related to Fletcher's question, maybe giving you an opportunity to get out ahead of something that's going to come up. Mm-hmm. If all the basketball ops chiefs are doing their job the way you think they should, mm-hmm. they're all going to look at Zion being available for up to 65 games because he shut them down the last 3 and averaging 21 points. And they're going to call you mm-hmm. and discuss him. Mm-hmm. And then reports are going to come out that you're, discussing potential trades with Zion Williamson. What do you want to, that's how that stuff happens, right? And so,
absolutely.
Do you want to
exactly how it happens?
So what do you want to say about the problem?
First of all, that's funny. Like, I love that the reporter kind of led him into that excuse, mm-hmm. right? Like,
no, that's a planted reporter. That's what that is.
That's a planted reporter.
Yeah, he told him,
must
hey,
be the team. Who's the New Orleans version of Mike Trudell?
Probably. I have no clue, but probably. Yeah, that was intentional. Guys do that all the time.
That guy's got some beignets waiting for him for asking that question that way. Like, hey, we know you wouldn't actually want to trade him, but other teams might call you, and then that's going to spark rumors. Okay. Anyway, here's his response though to the idea of trading Zion Williamson.
Prospect of that this offseason with him because he's a lightning rod, obviously.
Yeah, he is, and yeah, I'll get those calls. And even when you say no to people, like, no, we're not moving Zion, within 2 hours, it's out that, yeah, you've had conversations about trading for Zion. And so, listen, we have no intentions of doing that. We're going into the offseason, looking forward to Zion coming back next year and playing great again next year. But, yeah, these phone calls come in and people ask about a player and you say no, and then 2 hours later it's like, yeah, they had a conversation about a player. And I'm going, that's true, but you left out maybe the most important part, which is we said no. Yeah.
The most important part to me is that these organizations need to fix the leak problems they have, because that shouldn't be happening like that.
Well, organizations are okay if they're leaking information if it's not about their players.
Yeah,
if it's not about their players right now, if it's about their players, it's only going to be positive stuff. Yeah. But if it's coming from somewhere else, that's fine. But you know what? Everybody is trying to spin things through the media. Everybody is putting out information that they want out there. And so that's why we always say you have to consider, where's the information coming from? Who benefits? Who benefits from this information being out there? If it comes out that the Pelicans are shopping Zion Williamson, that certainly doesn't benefit the Pelicans. Even if they are shopping Zion Williamson, that doesn't help them do it. Yeah. So I get what he's talking about here, but what do you? First of all, do you take it at face value that he says we have no intention of trading?
It's funny you mentioned, them wanting out favorable information. We got a video of him doing it live. It was all propaganda. Oh yeah, no, we're not trading Zion. We're not taking any calls.
Right.
Live in the video, like right here. No, I've always been very high on Zion because I see the potential just like anybody else should. His main concern is obviously the weight, which is why they had to tie his contract the way that they did, behind freaking weight clauses, which is insane for a pro athlete. Like, that's crazy to me. But
he has to be lower than 295 pounds is the rule.
Like, that's such an insane ask in that should be easy as hell to do. What are you talking about? You're a pro athlete. This should not be
hard. The way Zion is built.
Okay, yeah, but he's built that way. That's fine. But okay, can you be 260? Do you have to be 295? Like, do you need to have the extra 30 pounds?
He just has to be. Yeah, I mean, 260 I think is achievable for him, but 295, like what's the UFC's heavyweight limit? Isn't it like 265 or something like that?
Something like that in that range. But
Wow.
like, okay, like Zion, like you are playing at a size that nobody else is playing at your height. Like that's the thing. So that's where it's always been, and I get it because so much of that is what enables him to be who he is. But my argument is that I think he can be who he is at a lesser weight. We saw it this year, right? So to me, like 295 is it's such a low bar, I should say, that he should walk past that easily. That shouldn't be hard for him to achieve. But anyway, his main thing other than the weight has always been availability. He's not been available, been dealing with injuries, probably because the weight, right? So he's dealt with a lot of things, going all the way back to college and all that stuff. And this year he was pretty available. He had 62 games that he played in. They mentioned that he could have technically played 65, but they did sit him towards the end there. Mm-hmm. And that did also happen last year. I remember him coming out and being upset about that. But with Zion, again, there's a world of talent there. And I think that if they have, the perfect scenario here, they probably don't trade him, right? But the thing is that you're in a situation here now where you have some evidence of him being on a basketball court, for a decent amount of time here, being healthy. Maybe now is the proper time to trade him because of that, right? I don't know. Yeah,
is now the chance to sell on Zion. And if you don't take this chance and he gets hurt again at some point, he played, like you said, 62 games. Not all of that was his choice, though. It's not like injuries held him out for all of the games that he missed, because the Pelicans did hold him out. And we'll talk later about, in a different video, we'll talk about the Pelicans making the decision to rest guys down the stretch, which didn't make a whole lot of sense. But then again, it's the Pels, but still played 62 games. You look at the numbers, 21 points. I mean, he can still be an unstoppable scorer. 5.7 rebound. Would like to see the rebounding numbers up a little bit, but only played less than 30 minutes a night, 29.7 minutes. Obviously, some of that is going to be geared towards keeping him healthy. 3.2 assists. Very versatile player because he can pass a little bit, can get into the paint and score. A little bit difficult to build a team around Zion because just positionally, he's a 4 who doesn't really shoot. So then you need a floor spacing 5 out there with him. And, he does most of his work in the paint. So it's a little tricky in that regard, but an incredible talent. But are the Pelicans missing out on an opportunity where teams can say, yeah, he played 62 games. We think he's going to be healthy. Maybe we should go ahead and try to trade for him. Let's talk about that next, because Zion has some comments here that I think are really interesting. But first, let's give a shout out to our sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. They do a fantastic job. You've heard us talk about them before. Use that code HMA over on Prize Picks. You play $5, get $50 instantly with Prize Picks in your lineups. All you got to do is pick more or less on some of your favorite players. We got play-in games tonight. I've got LaMelo Ball against the Miami Heat, scoring more than 17.5 points. I think it's going to be a very fast-paced game, flying up and down the floor. And I do have the Hornets surviving Miami. We will see, though. Miami can be feisty on any given night. And then Paul George, I've got him scoring less than 21.5 points. I think the Orlando Magic can be a very stingy defense. And I could see that game being more of a grinded out defensive battle between the 76ers and the Orlando Magic. So LaMelo Ball, more than 17.5 points. Paul George, less than 21.5 points. You guys want to get in on it? Use that code HMA, play $5, get $50 instantly. Go check them out. Link is in the description down below. All right, Donnie, let's talk a little bit about Zion himself. Here's what Zion had to say in his exit interview with the Pels. This is interesting.
PJ talked about just the conversation y'all had about, wanting for the playoffs next year, how that's the primary goal. I guess how much is that going to be a motivating factor for you, knowing that you just haven't made it touch that stage yet?
It's going to be a huge motivating factor for me, because I do want to experience the playoffs. I haven't experienced the playoffs, and it's something.
Okay, I just have to pause for 1 second here. Do you think Zion's voice matches his body?
I'm the wrong person to ask this, because I've been so many people said that about me. I'm the wrong person to ask. Literally, that was a setup. That was a straight setup.
I just mean, when I hear him talk, I always think his voice should be deeper. I don't know. It's not like Mike Tyson-esque or anything, but I just think he should have. You know what it is? It's David Beckham. You ever heard that guy talk?
Oh my God!
You ever David Beckham talk where you just go,
straight
what the hell, man?
You did me dirty, man. You know what you did? You did me dirty. I like to have you know I sang tenor in school, and I sang tenor for so long the voice just didn't deepen up the way it needed to. Actually, I have some people that think I fake my voice, so that's funny.
Really? You think people say your voice is not deep enough? You have a deep voice.
No. They say I sound like a white guy, and I don't. So maybe it's because I don't have an accent. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But on a side note, talking about appearance, I was actually thinking he looks really good.
He does.
He looks really good, and this has been how he's looked all year. It's not a revelation, but he's at 265 now. Ironically, I know, like I was talking about that number earlier because I think that for him, that was a good functional number. He just didn't need to be damn near 300 pounds. He probably exceeded 300 pounds. So, but he looks really good here. And for the record, to answer your question, the wrong person to ask, but I'd agree.
Okay. let's continue on here. I promise that was not a shot at you.
No. He set me up and he knew it. Hit that thumbs up, guys. We appreciate it.
Something that I would love to experience. So, like I said, having somebody like Joe, Hall of Famer, he won the championship, won multiple. I will be kind of taking myself under his wing in a sense, gaining any basketball knowledge I can from him, and just, using my resources to reach out to other Hall of Famers, reach out to other championship players, reach out to greats and see.
See, Donnie, my first thought when he said, I'm going to reach out to other players was I thought, oh, Charles Barkley. But then he said championship players, so I guess that just disqualified him.
Charles is he's like the perfect example for Zion, actually, like physically.
Right, exactly.
Same height, similar weight stuff, it'd be great.
But he said championship players, so.
Damn, you're just taking shots at everyone today. Jesus. You opened the video talking about Zion eating too much food. What are we doing today, Trev?
I must be in a bad mood. I'm in a bad mood today, apparently, and I don't even know it because I'm just taking shots at
I almost wanted to say this is Trev After Dark, but it's freaking noon, man. What are we doing?
Right. I don't know. Maybe I didn't sleep well last night. In all seriousness, Charles Barkley would legitimately be a good person for him to reach out to, play style wise. I think he'd get a lot of pointers off of him.
Mm-hmm.
What their journey was like, because I would like to play in the playoffs. So for me individually, this is going to be a different summer of how I'm going to approach it. And it's already started, with my health. But basketball wise, I'm looking to take a different approach because, it's frustrating getting up here every year, not being in the playoffs. And I'll take my responsibility in that. I'll definitely hold myself accountable. But I would like to be in the playoffs, so it's time to just start taking different approaches and, gaining what knowledge I can and just working on different things.
Okay. So jokes aside, I kind of like what Zion had to say here.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to be in the playoffs and I have to. I like that he said, I have to. I'm taking responsibility. I have to take a different approach. I have to change things. I'm going to take advantage of the resources that are available to me. I'm going to reach out to the significant, obviously, connections that he's got within the basketball community. I'm going to reach out to people who've done it before. And I'm going to figure out what I need to do in order to get that. I love what he said there.
Yeah. I think Zion, for him, he's about to be 26 or right around that range. And for a lot of these guys, that's about the time they start really, if they're not already from the jump, they start really hammering it in. They start wanting to be and longing for a situation where they're successful. Because quiet as it's kept, like I talked about in the last video, these guys don't want to tank. They don't want to be on losing teams. They win their whole life at every level. And then they come to the NBA and they're on this bottom dwelling team that can't get right for years on end. And for Zion, I'm sure that, he's had frustrations with the team and also with himself, like we've talked about injuries, etc. And he wants to probably be successful now. I mean, it doesn't hurt that he's extension eligible.
That's right.
Doesn't hurt. But he wants to be, in a successful situation, wants to taste that and be available for his team. And I thought he did it this year. Now, the caveat to this is that if you remember, during the last offseason, I said, hey, if you look at Zion's yearly games played, he's due for a season where he's kind of like 60 plus. The downside is it's every other year with him. So hopefully he can string together some years.
So that would suggest here that next year is big trouble, because you're right. 24, 60, didn't play, 29. There's 2 in a row, but then 70, 30, 62. Do we go back and have like a 25 game season? I hope not. How much of that is weight related? I wonder if you went back and you looked at what Zion's weight was by year, if there's a direct correlation to the amount of games played.
Yeah, so many of those, if I remember correctly, were like lower body or soft tissue. These are tendon issues. Those are the types of things that if you just relieve the pressure on those joints, man, so much of it's going to get so much easier for you. And it's not like we're saying he needs to get down to what Kobe was, like 6'6", 220 in that range.
No, he'll never do that.
He doesn't have to do that, right? And that wouldn't be for him and to play that he wants to play. I think 260, even maybe 255 would probably be a functional weight for him. He just didn't, like I said, I think he exceeded 300. And that's just too much for a 6'6" guy. Quiet as it's kept, that's too much for anybody that's like not, 6'10 plus, like I don't know that you need that much weight. So for him, he's a big dude, strong dude. I'd imagine a lot of those were probably because of that. And the torque that he plays with, that's the big thing, is that explosiveness he has and the way he is with that weight. It's just a lot, man. It's a lot. Like you don't see guys that size be that athletic. It's a lot. So I wonder about that. And then also he doesn't have a perimeter game. So everything with him is drive to the basket and take that pounding. And so I'd imagine that that's going to be a factor no matter what, unless he develops the outside game, of course. But so much of that would just help, I think, from losing weight. And I'd imagine every other year was probably largely because of that.
So his official weight on NBA.com is 285 pounds. I'm seeing some in just the search here that has him down. At one point, he was down to 264. Look, whatever. The bottom line is he's got to keep his weight down. As long as he does that, I think that will aid him greatly in staying on the court. And then I look at this Pelicans team, and despite what they did over the last week of the season, I do think a decent. I'm not saying they're a playoff team or even necessarily a play-in team, but maybe had they stayed healthy, I mean, they're a different team with DeJounte Murray. They dealt with a number of injuries over the course of the year, and we could talk about how some of the decisions that they made in terms of last season that hurt them, certainly. But I do think there should be some optimism that this team can be much more formidable this coming season, even without having their draft pick this year.
Yeah, and really quick, I do have a year over year. So high school, he was listed at 170. Gained roughly, and that was as a freshman. As a junior, he gained roughly 100 pounds over the next 2 years. In Duke, he was listed at 285. His rookie season, he was listed at 284, which was what he has officially listed on the site now. From 21 to 23, he faced several injuries, with reports suggesting his weight exceeded 300 during the recovery periods. And depending on, what happens, during the recovery periods, like, I mean, we have Tyrese Halliburton dealing with shingles and stuff like that. He's talking about how he put on a lot of weight. So that's not uncommon. I would still contest that you don't have to eat a lot if in certain situations, but maybe he had something else that was going on, but he exceeded 300 is the key thing here. But he's down to 264 as of February of last year. So he's just always been in that range.
And he looks much thinner. So
he looks
maybe there's some optimism that the weight is going to stay off with him. Should the Pelicans have this stance of we're not going to trade him, even if, and I mean, reality, like, should that be the truth that they're not going to trade publicly, regardless of what the truth is, they should absolutely say we don't intend to trade Zion Williamson. They could be working the phone. Joe Dumars can have 15 texts out to 15 different general managers in his pocket while he's saying, hey, are you interested in Zion? And publicly, he should be saying, we don't intend to trade Zion. But behind the scenes, should that be their path here this summer?
How much do you believe in that core is the question. And not so much the guards, Murray and Poole, but like the bigs, the forwards. Like, how much do you believe in that core? They're all 25 to 27. They're all locked up long term. Like, how much do you believe in that? Because I think that, and then you have guys coming up in the wings like Fears and Queen. How much do you believe in this iteration? Because I think that's the biggest
factor. To close the season. Jeremiah Fears was awesome.
I think you need to get off of Poole and or Murray. And Murray just a little bit more because the age. Like, it's not like he's too old, but I think he's just on the outside of what you would want.
I wonder if you even can get off of.
No, I don't. For the record, I don't think you can get off of either of those guys.
Jeremiah Fears, I believe, the youngest player to score 35 plus in 3 straight games to close out the year. 40, 36, and 36. I
think you need to clear the way for him to just play 36 minutes a night easy and not have to worry about anything.
Jordan Poole is just a $34 million expiring contract, I think.
Yeah, I don't think you can get off that either unless you're taking back long-term money, of course. So and then they've got Missy as well. Like, how much do you believe in this iteration? Because quietly, Zion is probably one of your best bargaining chips. If you don't want to trade your wings, he's your best bargaining chip.
He's the best. Otherwise, you're probably if you're talking about significant change for this team, it's either Trey Murphy or Herb Jones, and if you don't want to trade either one of them, then it's Zion.
Yeah.
So, and if you don't want to move those, and obviously, look, don't trade Jeremiah Fears, don't trade Derek Queen. You got to hang on to those guys.
Hold on to them.
Outside of those guys, if a team comes calling for Zion, say a team gets bounced early in the playoffs, earlier than they expect, and they say we need to do something dramatic, and they come calling for Zion, I'm not shutting that down if I'm the Pelicans. I'm listening because you know what, they don't have to make a decision this summer on a Zion extension, but they do next summer. Next summer they do. He's under contract the following year, but do you really want to let him hit free agency? You need to know whether or not you want to keep him long term. And if there's doubt, if you are not convinced he's going to stay healthy this coming season, then maybe you look to move on from him now while you can. Because the alternative is, let's say he's a little banged up. Let's say he plays 48 games, just to pick a random number, enough to where teams will be a little bit squeamish about trading for him, but also enough to where you're like, well, we don't want to just let this guy go for nothing. And then you're faced with the proposition of either extending him next summer or allowing him to hit free agency the following summer. And neither one of those situations might be maybe comfortable to be in. So I think they need to be very serious in their thought process here about Zion Williamson and what they believe the future is going to be, and then follow that. Because if they don't think he can stay healthy, they need to very much consider moving him now while he's got 60 plus games under his belt and not risk him playing 30 something games next year. And then you've got no value the following summer.
The good news is if you trade him, I mean, if he doesn't meet those benchmarks, the contract is what it is for the next team. So maybe it's for the incumbent team, it's like a low risk, high reward type thing, depending on what you give up. So that could be interesting as well. But if you're the Pelicans, do you want to give up Zion in a package like that? You want to get back the best you can get, right? So otherwise, maybe you just decide to keep him. I wanted to also show this here because I thought it was interesting that it to me, some of it comes down to how much can you play some of these guys together as well. And so for this, I have filtered out Zion with Herb and with Trey, how often they played. So the key thing with this is that when they tried to run a lineup of Trey, Herb at point guard, basically pretty much positionless. Trey, Herb, Sadiq Bey, Zion, and Derek Queen, they were bad on both sides. They were terrible. But when they removed Derek Queen and put DeJounte Murray in, had those three with Sadiq
That's
Bey,
pretty damn
that was
good.
A very good lineup.
Small sample size, but that's pretty. And that's Zion at the 5.
Yeah, Zion at the 5.
So you have spacing.
So that was my main thing here is because they're all wings, forwards. How much can they even play together if they're going to be part of your core there? And then aside from that, can you integrate Fears? Can you integrate Queen? Because quietly, Queen and Zion don't really mesh all that great. They don't mesh all that great. Unless Zion can play down a position, they don't mesh all that great because neither is a staunch defender. Zion, Queen can space the floor for Zion a bit. Zion needs the ball in his hands a bit more, but they can get into some two-man game. But I think they really need a rim protector there, which is why when you look at the next group with Yves Missy in there, it works again a little bit better instead of Derek Queen. So I think that, but I think you can integrate Fears in that Murray spot and be successful. But not to say these three need to share 30 minutes a night, but I think they're going to be the core, at least as of now, for the current iteration of this team. So
I think,
and you don't want to trade your wings. So I
think offensively, Queen and Zion, big picture, can work. Yeah, there's obviously some things, but they're in 1,500 possessions. They're a minus 12.3 on the floor together. Yeah. That's not ideal. Again, he's a rookie, so I take that with a grain of salt. I think just conceptually, a guy as offensively versatile as Queen, I think can work with Zion on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, you've got some concerns there. And it didn't work on either side of the ball.
Yeah, not this year.
No, this year it didn't work on either side of the ball. I'm just talking conceptually.
Yeah. Skill set wise.
But it's still not ideal. Right? Like your ideal is you need a big next to Zion who could shoot the three and protect the rim. And those guys are hard to come by. Those guys are hard to find. There's not that many of them in the NBA. Tell you what, the Bucks would probably be more than fine moving on from Miles Turner right now, especially if Giannis is on the way out. But that's kind of what you need. But that again speaks to a bigger issue when we're talking about building around Zion. Is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah, I wonder about that. Like, was the Derek move? Like Derek, I love Derek's potential. I really love those bigs that play the way he does.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're building around Zion, he was not the right pick. Because he doesn't fit, I think, and the numbers bear that out. At least not right now.
What they gave up.
Yeah, that's kind of the point. At least not right now. But Derek was mostly not positive this year on either side of the ball. So he's a tough fit for this team because I think he needs to play 4 with a big most of the time. And I need him to improve his shooting, his lateral quickness, some of those things. Like he is an absolute open door on defense. And that's tough, I think, for this team. And that's to my point, if you're Zion and you want to be a competitive team, you want to be good now. If you're the coach there, how do you integrate your present core with the guys you're trying to develop and make the most of that? I think it's a tough puzzle to solve with the pieces that they have. So largely, you probably have to move somebody. I don't know if you move the young guys, but you may have to move off of a Trey Murphy to bring in some more perimeter defense or something like that. Or, a 3-and-D big would be great, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That'd be a guy that'd fit great with Queen or Zion, right? So
the Pelicans were ranked 23rd in the NBA in frequency of shots given up at the rim.
Yeah, it's because this is a straight open door because Zion's not a great defensive player either. So it kind of is what it is.
They actually defended really well from 3. Everything in the paint, though, they struggled, which is not a surprise. Not a surprise. So they've got some big decisions.
Come on down.
Miles Turner, come on down. They've got some big decisions to make this summer. I don't think they should have the door because I think there is a path to build around Zion. Do I trust the Pelicans to be the team to build around Zion? No, I don't. So I think they need to very much be open to trade possibilities with Zion Williamson between now and say July when the market really, really heats up.
Yeah,
it's time. Like you have to. And the right deal may not come along. And if it doesn't come along, it doesn't come along. Mm-hmm. But you certainly shouldn't be closing the door on opportunities right now.
Yeah. I think Zion team building is actually extremely simple. If you put him on a team like what Milwaukee has traditionally done for Giannis. And not to say you'd have the same results because quality of player, but that would be the ideal build for Zion. Mm-hmm. Is just put him in there, give him the ball, space the hell out of the floor, and let him create, let him play, let him develop that way. So that would be really good.
There hit a point where, say with Russell Westbrook, and there hits this point with every player. I'm just using Russ as an example.
It's the same idea with Russ.
Yeah, right. But there hit a point where you had to build the team a certain way around Russ. There hit a point where the gymnastics you had to do to build a team around Russ were no longer worth it. Yeah. Is Zion worth it? The gymnastics that you have to undertake to build the team around him. And I think you're right in terms of the Bucks style with Giannis. Is Zion good enough to be worth that?
Yeah, I think he could scale up, but it's largely availability. Because for him, he's shown in the past that he can be a top level scorer with only being able to play around the basket. Like the guy's taking 0.1 threes per game this year. Like you'd love to see that go up just to at least take one a game, you know. But he's shown in the past he could average what is his tie? 27 or 25 in like 30 minutes a night. So I think he could scale up if you give him more opportunity on ball. But I don't know. Again, I need to see it, because he's not healthy enough, right? But entering his prime, I'd certainly think that could be interesting. But you'd have the bones of a team that's probably going to win 40 games at best. So,
right. Which is that really where the Pelicans want to go?
I'm
closer to they just need to burn the whole thing down.
Yeah.
They need to go all in on building the team around Zion, just because there's some challenges elsewhere.
If that was the goal, you should have already
done it.
You should have been already. Like they've tried to put pieces around Zion, but I don't think many of them fit. And when they traded away the Lakers guys, it didn't work out as good as they would have probably hoped. You know?
Yeah.
So, like Josh Hart would be awesome on this team. Oh man. Well, Josh Hart would be awesome anywhere for the record.
He's a great like glue guy. In a lot of different, I know Knicks fans they've got their complaints about him and stuff, and there's some pros and cons.
He's not perfect, but everyone else would love to have Josh. So if you don't want him, feel free to,
Donnie, we just talked for half an hour about Zion and the Pelicans. I did not expect that. I thought for sure we're going to talk for like 15 minutes tops, maybe 10 minutes about Zion and potentially trading him. Somehow we got going on the New Orleans Pelicans. And we talked for 31 minutes, but we appreciate everybody. If you've made it this far on a Zion Williamson video, just put it in the comments. I'm a real one, because you are. You made it this far into a Zion Williamson summer trade video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.